It takes two to tango, and this is the Relationship Deep Dive with Alpha, where relationship meets transformation. And we are learning each and every day that transformation is a product of the renewal of your mind. And today I'm going to share with you some golden nuggets that will help you renew your mind so that you can continue to enjoy a more meaningful and fruitful relationship. If you are in for that, smash that button by give me a thumbs up, or bring that ring and just kind of subscribe for it. Above all, if you're watching this or you're listening to this in any podcast session, I'm just going to ask you to just give me some 5 good stars if you find this information interesting. But I'm talking to you. If you're looking for ways to further improve, if not restore, your relationship, then let's have this conversation. There is a previous episode I talk about this concept of the role, about how each and every one of us have responsibility to see this, our relationship, heading somewhere, where I highlight the importance of each and every partner to play their role in order to experiencing a more meaningful relationship. And in fact, I went as far as making this bold statement: you have conformed to that which started happening at some point in your marriage. And as a result, it has become a continuous experience. Because it takes two to tango. It is, yes, it is true that your spouse did something. And as a result, that which was done brought about an experience. I want to share this in a very simple context. And the person have gave me permission to speak about their story in this context because he had asked this question. And so for that purpose, I said, you know what, do you mind if I can kind of take this conversation I have by not playing it out, instead sharing in the context of teaching? And he said, no problem. You can share that as long as you don't mention my name. And thank you very much, JD. So I call him JD. His name is not JD, but I'm going to use JD for this particular. It's easier. I can use that. And this is not the JD. I have other clients who actually are named JD. So if JD, who has not given me the permission, is listening this on podcast or watching it in YouTube, know that it is not you, because this is a different DJ. Of course, the story will be different anyway. So that being said, I just want to kind of clear that air, and let's go to these golden nuggets that are necessary to help you change your mind. So why I say it takes two to tango. JD have been in a marriage for 5 years. And it began as a blossoming, I remember, and I'm going to go back, I'm going to mix up a few facts. I'm not mix facts, but I'm going to use certain references. We had bought this house one time, and at the front of the driveway, it's a little bit longer driveway, not very long, but a reasonably long driveway. And in each side, they had these wild roses that were on each side. When we bought it, it was in winter time. So we didn't know much about it. It would just look some dry branches of something. And by the house, by the garage, there was this nice, beautiful, dry branch when we bought the house. So we moved in, we did what we needed to do and everything else. And spring came and we were trying, eager and excited to see what is around the house. And suddenly this beautiful rose started blossoming. And beautiful. And we were like, oh my God, look how beautiful it is. Of course, then it came to work to maintain it. But what I mean is, JD had this blossoming. He entered into this relationship. It was blossoming, beaming with beauty and awesomeness. As he proceeded, and things were going well according to JD. But JD had a problem. He was, what they call it, he had a good job. And he maintained his job, but he used meth methamphetamine, if that's what the real word is, to he smoke it or he chew it, whatever he did with it, he was using it a lot. And JD was he had his own truck. So he had one truck and he was using it, and the truck was doing extremely well. So he bought a second truck, he had a driver. And so in order to maintain the pressure of the work, he got into meth. I don't know why meth. I didn't ask him. And he started using meth, and he was using it so much, it started eating his teeth. That's what meth can do to you. And, he couldn't let go of that. I don't know how they do it. I didn't ask, but somehow he was consuming it through the mouth, because then it started decaying his teeth. And the teeth started looking funky and funny and all that stuff. So his dental architecture was suddenly disappeared. It was morphamized to something that was not appealing to him. And as a result of that, JD started feeling self-conscious. He started feeling some form. And of course, there was battle in the house where the wife kept saying, you got to cut this thing down, man. You can't keep doing this. I can't bring this. So first he stopped using it at home. But on the road, he couldn't stop using it. For him, he told himself it kept him going. He kept him feeling energetic about driving from cross state lines. And he did this over and over. But of course, he was hurting his teeth. I can imagine if it does that to the teeth, what he was doing to the rest part of the organ. Of course, the body, the cells renew themselves every 14 days. Biology will tell us and scientists will confirm it, but it renews a lot. So probably even the damage he was causing were being renewed, but the teeth doesn't do it well because it doesn't renew itself as other cells of the body. Eventually, things were so bad in his teeth, he had to go and clean it out. So they took everything out, and then they gave him dentures. And those dentures, he didn't feel well about it. He started withholding. He wasn't very intimate because he felt so much aware of what was going on here. And by withdrawing from his wife and distance himself, and he felt less and less. Even when he approaches his wife, he was not approaching it from that open-minded, feeling amazing, feeling excited, and feeling as a person that he should have felt. So his self-esteem dwindled, and over time, he had none. And one day, the wife came home and said, I found a man. And the wife used these words, so I'm going to use those words. He said, I found a man who knows how to fuck me well. I found a man who just give me any time I want. And I've been getting it for a period of time from this man. She went and gave graphics, a breakdown of each and every experience she has. She said, I'm exploding whenever he's inside of me. He just knows how to handle me. And he talks to me like a man. So JD was broken, cried for days, begged. And she said, you are nothing to me. JD provided to this woman everything she'd asked because he had good business despite his love for meth. So eventually JD was exhausted and he said, she was spending more time with this man than with him. She left the kids at home and she was more and more engaged with the man than with him. So when JD found out this, JD reached out and we had a conversation, and JD was giving every type of a word you could think to describe a woman who you detest. And anybody will say he had the right to say so. But in my conversation with JD, we went through a very simple inquiry that I did. I said, JD, this is not a alone incident. She might have gone and do something about what is happening now, but it began with two of you. And he said, you know what, Alpha, you don't understand. You don't understand at all. I said, I understand, JD. It makes perfect sense. I am not minimizing what you've done, nor am I supporting it, nor do I tolerate that behavior. But we have to look at it in both sides. And JD first he was skeptical, but then because this was just a what I call a clarity call, me and him having a conversation. Eventually he said, I'm going to buy a program. I want to get in. And he bought a 12-week course. He said, I'm broken. I need all I can get in order to read. And I walked him and I said, why you need a 12-week program? Because this is not a quick fix thing. And I was able to dial down and say, you have confidence is the biggest player in this. Every time you are begging, every time you're trying to do everything, of course, he ended up stopping meth. He ended up stopping drinking. He stopped so much. And he said, but why she's not? He will dedicate himself to God. He will fast. He will do everything. But things got worse in the marriage. I said, because imagine somebody's up there on the maybe 10th floor and you are down here on the ground floor and you're talking to them from the ground floor. You're yelling, yeah, and you're telling them a story or you are instructing them something. They will not hear you very clearly because you're speaking from a lowest level in terms of how that conversation should go. You're down here, they're up there. You're yelling, yes, can you do this? And you're going to do so much to yell. But the noises on the background, the distance that you guys have makes a whole difference to make that communication very poor. Eventually, there will be a misunderstanding. And as a result of misunderstanding, things will fall apart. That's a natural law. And that's what happened to JD. When you are broken, when you are hurt, begging is the worst thing you can do because guess what? You are asking from the lowest level of reference. You are already wounded. You're already weak. So you asking you actually weakens your position further. So that's why I promote this program as, guess what? My program, you don't need to beg, you don't need to ask, you don't need to do any of those things because anything you do from a point of view of desperation, guess what? You are at the lowest point while the other person is at the highest. And you hear a lot of women will say, you're just lip singing, or you haven't changed. When you change, I will notice it. Because you think because I am doing these things, then therefore I am changing. Instead, in fact, it's not about doing the things that changes you. It is here. Which point of reference are you coming from? Are you coming from a point of reference that you're sorry because you've been caught? You are sorry because things are now desperate? You are sorry? That point of reference is the weakest point of reference in the relationship. So when you are communicating from that point of reference, you appear weaker, not real, because that's not a natural place to communicate from. So when JD was having a communication with his wife, out of being self-confidence at its lowest, guess what? He was not being the man she married, because she married a charming man. She married a man who was energetic, proud of himself. And suddenly, because he feels something about his hygiene, dental hygiene, he is no longer proud of himself. And because he's so much relying on this thing that he chew, whatever he does with that meth, guess what? He is not showing up as the man she fell in love to. And when they're in bed, making love, sex, whatever you want to call it, guess what? He's not doing it from a confidence point of view. He does it from a responsibility point of view. And so therefore she experienced that energy and she's not connecting. And she felt he was not all that. Yes, her actions was radical in terms of she went and did something that not everybody would do, but that is what she understood that she needed to go and fulfill herself. And she went and found a man, and she comes back and report and tell him that this man, when he's inside of me, I feel alive. I want to explore because his D is this, because he knows how to handle me. He speaks to me like a man. And she's asking me, what will you? I'm not a man. I mean, I've done all these things. I've bought a new car. I've gathered a ring. I've done, and he's doing all these expensive stuff, thinking that those things are sufficient to buy her satisfaction. There's a confusion we have. A woman might celebrate a ring or a jewelry, whatever you buy, they'll be like, oh my God, it is so nice. But a celebration, which is a joyful moment, does not translate into an intimate experience. An intimate experience is delivered not because of a ring or anything objectively, rather because of the state of mind one feels. And often because we don't know how to create a state of mind intentionally, one have to create for the other to experience. So when I say it takes two, it took JD to feel less confident for his wife, I'm going to call her D, to exercise that which she thought was right on her mind for their marriage to experience the breakdown it has. That's why I say it takes two to tango. Things don't happen on a thin air. You can call your spouse whatever name you want to call. And I want to further elaborate how that happens. Just use my personal experience. My wife and I, if I'm stepping out of the house, she will know that I stepped out of the house. Sometimes there's a grocery store not far from it. It's just a walking distance. And I love to take, because sometimes I go groceries, I don't buy a lot of stuff, but lighter things, just simple things that I need, maybe avocados, or we need some milk, or we need butter, or something quicker. Instead of driving, I'll take a walk, because it's just a moment I can, even in wintertime, I'll take a walk. I'm just experiencing a moment, and I use it as a meditation and a reason to step out of the house. Because I have my office in-house, so it makes it, you're always at home. But if even I take that walk, I would tell her that I'm going to the grocery. Not only that I would tell her, I will give her a kiss. And she will do exactly the same for me. So we have built, and these things might say, you guys are doing too much. No. It's connection. It's a connection. You're making connection. There is that connection. When you have that connection, it makes a difference. And why? Just think of this. Most of you today, you go to the bathroom with your phone. You go to the bathroom with your phone. Isn't it true? But you used to go to the bathroom without it until you build that connection with it, that you were always here. And studies are showing people are spending more time in the bathroom and toilets than ever before. Not because they are shitting more, it's because they are doing so with their phones. So they might be there taking their dump. They'll be doing this. Yeah. So they're in the toilet. They're going. It takes longer for them. Normally they would have just, because it's not a place they find pleasure, but suddenly they're taking their dump, they're busy on the phone, they find entertainment, and they forget. So it takes them a little bit longer to stay in the bathroom than it would normally, what it would normally to take. What am I saying? You have built a connection, and therefore you don't feel like you can go without it. I just usually laugh at my kids. Sometimes I just look and I want to tell them something, but I'm like, you just gotta leave them alone. You will see I'm sitting somewhere and you see they're going to the bathroom. Maybe they're in the living room too. They go to the bathroom and they forgot the phone. And I'll be just counting. I'm like, they're gonna come for it. And you'll be one of them come running and grab the phone and go to the like. What are you going to miss? But why is that important? Why we've become so glued to it? Because we've built that connection. We are constantly on it. The more you connect, this is the key. The more you connect with the person, and the connection is not because we're sitting in the house together. You can sit in the house for 8 hours with the person, and there will be no connections because you're not doing connection. If I leave this phone on the bed or somewhere charging the whole day long, and that's what I usually do, and people say, "You don't pick up my call." I said, "No, I'm in the house. I just leave the phone anywhere. I don't want to carry it everywhere I go." Less connection I have with it, the less dependent I am with it. So I can go to the bathroom without a phone. Yep, I can. Yes, there's some moment I've lied to myself. I'm like, oh man, I gotta read this email. But I hate to do that. So I do less touching on the phone in order to have a less connection. So therefore, I am not more dependent on it. Instead, I'm lessly dependent on it. And that's the secret. So with me and my wife, when I kiss her and say I'm stepping out, when I say I'm stepping out, when I touch her when I'm stepping out, there's more connection. And the more connection create more bond. So we are more connected. And that's why I can experience the highest form of love and intimacy from her today than even when we started our relationship 27 years ago. Simple. It is that simple rule. If you can do that, you've changed. But it takes two to experience that. So as it takes two to hold each other accountable. So if she leaves the house. Like today when I was doing this recording, she had to go and pick our princess. And because I have a sign that on air, guess what? She did not step into the recording and to give me that kiss. But let's take an example. If this was not, I wasn't doing recording and she had to step away and she comes back, you know what I do to her? The first thing, I'm not going to yell. But we've created this joke. I'll be like, wow, somebody did not even dare to give me a kiss. Amazing. Wow. This is what it has become. And suddenly she apologized. I apologize. And what am I doing there? I'm reminding. Even when she have not done it, I am still creating a connection. And she'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. And she'll come and give me a kiss. And when I am coming back from whatever I am coming back, I walk into the house, guess what I do? The first thing I will do, take off my shoes and head to wherever she is, give her a kiss, and then we'll talk about whatever next need to be discussed. And she will do exactly the same. Connections. We are building these little connections, but the more we build them, the more intimate our relationship becomes. And the more intimate the relationship is, we're bonding more and more. And our experience is much deeper each and every single moment. She's watching sometimes. She loves these shows that she watches. When I'm done with my stuff, I would just go and hang out. Even if I have my laptop, I'm doing something. I'll just tell her I'm doing something in the laptop, but I'm going to sit there with her. And she will say, can I put my feet on your side? And she'll put her feet on my thighs. And I'll be doing something in the computer. What are we doing? Connection again. Even when we are all integrating, we're all connected to something else, but yet we are connected. We're touching, we're doing this. It takes two of us. But when that is not happening, we are reminding ourselves. So let's take an example. The first time I go out, for instance, and I don't say anything, and I go out my day and I come back and she doesn't say anything. Oh, I act stupid and she doesn't say anything. She leaves me alone. She allows it. She allows it for me. She gives me permission, in fact. She gives me permission to do it again. Guess what? To tell her I love you. To kiss her when I'm stepping out. I'm stepping out, I'm heading out. It feels like I'm reporting to somebody, like somebody I gotta say goodbye every time to somebody. That's what sometimes it feels like. But it has become so natural. Many people struggle to do that because why will I have to say goodbye? Connection. Connections build degree of intimacy. And so a degree of intimacy brings an experience that is much higher than the one you're experiencing today. It doesn't cost me to do that, but it elevates the experience that I have in our relationship. It takes two to tango. So today you experience that which you experience, not because you're a bad person, not because you made your spouse do it, because you tolerated it. You allowed, you give the person the permission when you see something that is not right, that is done. Anything that is done does not conform to, does not appeal to your taste. You have to be able to reject it. To allow it is to conform. Apostle Paul used the word conform. Do not conform. In my program, I am spending so much time speaking about Romans 12:2 because it's very, very important. It is actually, if you know Romans 12:2 and exercise as you're told, you will live the best life there is. If I have to preach about the Bible, if I had to get that opportunity and say, what is the best conversation I can have from the Bible? That Romans 12:2 will be the only conversation I need. And that's it. And I can talk about it each and every day in so many ways. The fallout that we have in our marriages is because we are conforming. And to conform is to give something permission to become permanent. It happens the first time. Yes, there is a saying, fool me once, fool me twice, the fault is on me. So it happened the first time. Your spouse did something that was so outrageous, it surprised you. And you went and have a conversation with your spouse. And your spouse said, oh, I will not do it again. And the people are entitled to be forgiven, to be given a second chance. We should be doing that. So they said, I'm not going to do it again. And they went and do it again. And you went and confronted. They said, oh, I'm sorry. I just overlooked. I forgot about it. The third time, the fourth time, what you're doing, you're giving permission over and over and over. So, what am I saying here? The conversation is simple. It takes two of you. Once you recognize that it takes two of you to bring about the experience you're having, now you say, so how do I change? See where I'm going with it? It's not to blame you, but it's to give you the recognition. Then you say, oh, so instead of me keep blaming my spouse, what do I do now to create a different experience? So the whole conversation here, when you say two to tango, is for you to recognize that two of you were involved in the fallout you are having. Yes, one might have been the doer, but the other was a watcher. You know, I've seen this movie. I've never experienced it in person, nor have I witnessed it, but watching in the movies. Somebody's going to rob or committing a crime, and they have a person they call a lookout person. A lookout person is as much liable as the person who committed the crime. Because in absence of the lookout person, the crime would not have been committed at that time, at that moment. In the law, there is something they call aiding and abetting. A person who aid and abet another to commit an offense is as much as liable as the person who committed the offense in question. It takes two to tango. The spouse who have done so much against you and deteriorate the quality of your marriage is a doer. But guess what? You are a lookout person. You allowed it. When it happened the first time, you tolerated it. When it happened the second time, you tolerated. You are supposed to hold each other accountable. In a marriage, two of you must tango. My foot, if it's not moving in the right direction, we are ruining the rhythm of the dance. So my spouse was supposed to tell me, no, Alpha, you gotta move, man. We're counting two. Step. I recently had a privilege of walking my big princess on her wedding day down the aisle. She's my sister-in-law, but I've been in her life since she was young. So she wanted to honor me with the same honor she had extended to her father. So me and my father-in-law will walk her down the aisle. And I remember the night before we took that walk, which is quite an honor for me. I take that gift as so valuable that she saw something greater than I could have seen in myself and say, I want you to walk me down because you matter in my life. And for me to be given an honor with that, I want to say thank you very much. But that's a separate conversation. But anyway, the night before, we went to a rehearsal. And as we were rehearsing, we had to decide the rhythm we're going to take. We're going to count 1, 2, 1, 2, meaning to find a way how we're going to walk down the aisle without looking like we are not on the same, we're different individual. We wanted to walk her down, me and her dad, we were supposed to walk her and walk in synchronicity. Our steps, our movement should be synchronized. So the first time we went down the aisle, things were not as exactly. I had my own count in my mind. She had her own, and the dad had, my father-in-law had the same different count. So therefore, we were messing it up. We went and repeated again. So eventually we came back and said, okay, listen. So how do we walk? We walk like this, or we walk like... We had to find a rhythm and come to an agreement. And how are we going to all count? And which foot are we going to start with? And we did. We came into an agreement and we went down the aisle again. We tried. And the second time, the rhythm was there. Synchronicity was happening. And we were looking like we were put together. And the day of the wedding, we exercised exactly and took step with joy. But we had the rhythm to maintain the synchronicity. And everything else worked out just fine. Why that is important? It took 3 of us to tango that dance of movement, of stepping forward and heading down the aisle. If one of us messed it up and we couldn't correct that one, then it would have affected the entire sequence that we were supposed to demonstrate. It is true about your marriage. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying you are lazy. I'm not actually saying anything against you. Instead, I'm bringing awareness that you have the role. And today you make a choice not to continue to play the role of allowing that which is happening. Instead, you take a step forward and decided to be a problem solver, a doer. In the Bible, it is told that God created everything and he saw it beautiful. But it's only in his creation of a human being he extended authority. So you have the responsibility to rule over all these things that I have created. It is true we rule over each and every aspect of the nature. But the scripture is teaching us to rule over ourselves, our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, the ideas we give permission to ourselves. Those are the things, those are the creatures, the living creatures, all the things that were said in that Genesis. Those are the things that we have dominion over. We can rule over. And once you learn how to rule over, you recognize that my partner is messing up this tango. And therefore, if the tango is not working well, if we keep bumping heads, we keep bumping feet, and everything else is not a pleasant tango anymore. We got to come back. We got to figure it out how we do it right. So today, I just want you to recognize first, I want you to take a step and say, you sit down to yourself and say, I recognize that I have the power, the uttermost power to transform my life. And you wonder, maybe sometimes your brain will play a trick. Oh, you are nothing, you're nothing. You say, no. I have the power. Because it is said in Romans 12:2 that do not conform. Instead, transform. So you say, I have the power to transform my life, to make it better, to create a marriage that is an ideal, as it is said in the book of Jeremiah 11, where he says, I know, I think 11:28, I know the plans I have for you. I'll add in your marriage. The plans to prosper you. Actually, there's another word that is, which I think it is the correct word to be placed there, even though prosper still brings the same meaning almost. The other Hebrew word means your end desire. My goal is for you to have your end desire. Unfortunately, the end desire is very broad. You can have a bad end desire, you can have a good end desire, and it is God's plan to give it all. He could not be God if he can only give you one or the other. And that's why in Isaiah it says, I and I, God alone, I do all things. I give sunshine, so as rain, joy, so as sadness, happiness, so as misery, death, so as life. I want you to think, so I want you to take this step and say, I have the power, the uttermost power to influence my relationship. And just, I want you to be curious about, wow, do I? And answer yourself, yes, I do. Because Romans tells me so that I can transform. So therefore, if I can transform, I have the power. Amazing. And so Jeremiah tells me so. So therefore, I can have it. Not only that I have the power, but I can have it. And that is God's plan. Don't go and ask anybody else what is God's plan for you. Don't even ask me, because my response will be, it is God's desire to give your end desire. It is God's interest for you to have your end desire, whatever that end desire. You want to get miserable? That's the end desire, and God will give it to you. As Jesus said, that which you do in secret, my Father in heaven, who sees it, will make others to come and testify about it. I hope that makes sense. And it's very important that you have to have that recognition. And once you have that recognition, I want you, in this particular episode, I'm going to grow this subject further. But in this episode, I want you to recognize that you have the role because you gave it permission. You are the one who have dominion. So if something is happening under your dominionship, it's because you gave it permission. Because you are supposed to have your end desired. And when you give something permission, you say that is the end you desire. And because that's the end you desire, God will press it down, shake it over, and overflow you with it. Because that's what God does. He is not a respecter of a person. He's a respecter of the law that are set forth. And the law is very, very clear. So, as we wrap this conversation today, I want you to take this exercise to heart, where you sit down and actually analyze. And by analyzing is just to think and be curious. All I'm asking you, just be curious. Wow. And it begins by saying, I have the power to influence change in my marriage, in my relationship. Just kind of use it. Wow. It's like, imagine like it's the moment somebody told you something that you didn't know, like, wow, this is very interesting. So you're telling me I have the power to influence the experience I have in my relationship? Never thought of that. This seems to be very, very interesting. I want you to have this dialogue. Wow, interesting. I have the power to influence the experience I have in my relationship. Wow, that's interesting. It makes sense because the Bible says I have dominion over all these things. So if I have dominion, I'm also responsible. Interesting. Let's have that dialogue. Just a curious conversation with yourself. Go to the park. Go to the library, and they have those little rooms. Just take one, take a book. Just you don't need to say I'm studying, and use that moment, just a moment of, I call it a moment of curiosity, and go through this curiosity journey, asking yourself this question, and not only just ask, but ponder upon it. Put the phone aside for a break and start touching something else instead of the phone all the time. I'm touching it because I was giving an example. I'm putting it away. But I want you to do this exercise, curiosity journey, asking yourself, wow, it's very interesting. So, okay, I have dominion, and the dominion is to experience the thing that I desire. Interesting. So when I saw my spouse did A or did B, and say nothing about it, or we got into an argument and left it alone, and then it happened again, so I allowed it. I gave my spouse permission. Because we have to make each other's uncomfortable to be comfortable with one another. I am keeping my wife on her toes every time. I walk in the kitchen, she's cooking, I'm going to give her a slap on her ass. I'm going to kiss her. It's a beautiful thing, but I'm getting her, she's comfortable doing something, and suddenly I'm distracting her with my presence, overwhelming presence in her. I am keeping her on her toes. I'm making her uncomfortable to be comfortable with that alone, where she's busy by herself. She's very comfortable, busy doing something, and she's lost. And I'm making her uncomfortable by stepping in and do something. She doesn't hate what I'm doing. She loves it. But it interrupts her pattern. So when you walk in your home and you routinely just want to go in and just, hi, like you see a stranger somewhere. Stop that. You can't expect to have a fulfilling relationship if you just walk into that, hi, what is that? I don't even do that with my kids. My daughter, my princess, she comes, she got to give me a hug. I tell her, so, we have a tradition in this house. You got to come and give me a hug. You got to give me a kiss. If you want to kiss me in the cheek, on this side, on my head, and kiss me on my lips, it doesn't matter. I need a kiss. Connection. Connection, 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 build intimacy. I will be sometimes when maybe in the living room doing something in the morning. Sometimes I like to work in the living room. Just kind of, there's a nice sliding doors, and so I can kind of open the sliding door windows and everything else. But when I do that, my son will be walking out, and he just want to go by. I'm like, hey, good morning to you too, or grand rising. One like to say grand rising, another one likes to say good morning. I would disrupt their pattern, making them uncomfortable to be comfortable. You see what I'm talking about? I'm not going to allow them to just walk and as if we don't know each other just because they woke up. No, you want to walk up, grand rising, good morning, how you doing? My princess, for her, she even get it harder. She just didn't say good morning. She got to come and say, oh, can I have my kiss, please? Can I have my hug? I'm building connection over and over and over by making people uncomfortable to be comfortable with me. And my wife does the same. I'll be busy working, and she'll come and just give me a kiss. And she'll be like, wow, what are you doing? It's amazing. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm busy. Like, no. She's making me uncomfortable to be comfortable with her. So you got to make your spouse uncomfortable by speaking to those things. It's not about yelling. Find a casual way. Like, for instance, for me, I said, me and my wife, if she does that, I'll be like, wow, somebody is having a bad day. Oh, wow. Is that serious that you don't even want to give me a kiss? It's not true that she doesn't want, but I'm just reminding her in a very gentle way. And guess what? She doesn't like to be reminded, so I don't want to be reminded. I'm going to make sure I do it. You can start today. The longer you delay, the harder it gets. I trust that you've learned something. You've taken these golden nuggets, and now you can use them as your own to make your jewelry that you can wear and look beautiful with it. Not that you're not. I use the word you look beautiful with it because you are already beautiful. But now you add an element of elegance to it. But it takes you to utilize this. Don't be like that man who said he is a son of God, or that woman says she is a daughter of a king. And therefore, they just sit back and let the king and God do miracles in their lives. They, and I know it's not you, but they who I spoke of here, they are conforming. And conformity kills curiosity. And when a curiosity is no longer alive, you cease to exist better than the best you've ever been. You remain as Lot's wife, a pillar of salt, preserved in the past. The choice is yours. Take the golden nuggets, make them a jewelry, put elegance on yourself, and walk as not only beautiful, as not only handsome, but elegant person who enjoys life to the fullest, enjoys the relationship to the fullest. But before I go, I want you to remind you, share this conversation with somebody you know they might be interested. And sometimes you might not want to share them directly. Share with a group of them so that that person can get a message without you communicating with to them. Not only that, just share it. I would encourage you to take actions on your own journey. Have a curiosity journey. And follow up on my next episode, because I'm going to go forward and explain how do you actually take actions? How do you stop allowing things in your marriage? Sometimes having a verbal conversation is not the best way to address things. I'm going to discuss a way that you can use to have a conversation without an argument, that it will truly transform the experience you have in that relationship. I am really excited. I want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to me and have the courage to take actions to the conversation instruction that I've provided you here. It means a lot. And it even means more as you share this with others, as you leave your comments behind. If you're watching in YouTube, by clicking or subscribing to this channel so that you can get notified as I post this conversation. And most important, I thank you for being curious and be willing to transform your mind, to transform yourself through the renewal of your mind, because it is this new conversation, this new information is changing how you think, how you perceive your relationship, and determines how you engage in the relationship at all. Until then, remember, relationship meets transformation. Here, a deep dive on a relationship with Alpha. Until then,